The Zephyrian council chamber fell silent as Admiral Vextar's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained disgust. Around the circular table, representatives from 12 species leaned forward, their various appendages, tentacles, and sensory organs focused on the holographic display floating above the table's center. These humans, Vexitar's voice resonated through the chamber's atmospheric processors, translating his electromagnetic pulses into audible speech for the carbon-based species present. They are the most pathetic specimens we have encountered in our expansion across this galaxy arm. The hologram displayed a detailed biological scan of a human male, 5 feet and 11 inches of soft flesh, brittle calcium-based skeletal structure, and a cardiovascular system that seemed laughably inefficient compared to the robust physiologies represented in the chamber. Korvash, the reptilian delegate from the Saurian hegemony, flicked his forked tongue in amusement. Their bones break, under pressure that wouldn't even register to our younglings. Their skin tears from the slightest contact with our claws. And yet, interrupted Delegate Mirren, her 6 insectoid arms clicking nervously, they continue to resist our occupation of their outer colonies. Resistance? Admiral Vextar's form pulsed with what could only be described as amusement. You call their futile struggles resistance? They flee before our advance forces like prey animals. Their largest military vessels barely qualify as escort ships by our standards. The truth was undeniable. Humanity's first contact with the Galactic Coalition had been a disaster. Their weapons were primitive, their ships underpowered, and their soldiers, despite their courage, fell like wheat before the Coalition's advanced forces. In the 3 months since first contact, the Coalition had claimed 17 human colonies with minimal losses. They should have surrendered after the first engagement, mused Korvash. Any rational species would have recognized the futility of their position. Perhaps, Admiral Vexitar concluded, we have been too gentle with them. I propose we demonstrate the consequence of their continued defiance. The military installation on their world designated Kepler 442b houses approximately 10,000 of their soldiers. A single orbital bombardment would... Admiral. The voice came from the chamber's communication array, crackling with interference. We're receiving a transmission from Kepler 442b. It's from a human. Every being in the chamber turned toward the speakers. It was unprecedented for any species to contact the Council directly during deliberations. Patch it through, Vextar commanded. The holographic display flickered, then resolved into the image of a human male. He sat in what appeared to be a military command center, his uniform torn and bloodied. Behind him, sparks flew from damaged equipment, and the distant sound of explosions echoed through the transmission. This is Colonel Marcus Chen of the United Earth Defense Force, speaking from Firebase Omega on Kepler 442b. His voice was steady despite the chaos surrounding him. I'm addressing the Galactic Coalition Council directly. Korvash leaned forward, scales rippling with interest. How did this primitive acquire our secure communication frequencies? Chen's lips curved into what humans called a smile, though to the assembled aliens it appeared more like a predator baring its teeth. We've been listening to your transmissions for the past 3 months. Your encryption algorithms are adequate. Not perfect, but adequate. Admiral Vextar's form flared with indignation. Impossible. Our communication systems are beyond your technological comprehension. Are they? Chen reached off-screen and retrieved a small device, holding it up to the camera. This is one of your communication relays. We recovered it from a downed Zephyrian cruiser 2 weeks ago. It took our cryptography team exactly 4 days to crack your codes. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs and electromagnetic pulses. Delegate Mirren's clicking intensified. That's impossible. The Void's dream was destroyed in the Tau Ceti system. There were no survivors, no recoverable wreckage. There were survivors, Chen continued calmly. 3, to be exact. We treated their injuries, fed them, and eventually sent them home in an escape pod, but not before we learned quite a bit about your technology. Korvash slammed his clawed hand on the table. You dare admit to interrogating Coalition prisoners? Interrogation? Chen's laugh was genuinely amused. Delegate Korvash, yes. I know who you are. We didn't interrogate anyone. We simply talked. Your people were quite grateful to be alive. They shared information freely, especially when they learned that we had saved their lives despite being at war. Admiral Vextar's form dimmed. What is your purpose in contacting us, human? I'm calling to inform you that your assessment of humanity is fundamentally flawed. Chen stood, and the camera pulled back to reveal the full scope of the command center. What had appeared to be battle damage was, in fact, evidence of extensive modifications. Zephyrian technology had been seamlessly integrated with human systems. Coalition weapons were mounted alongside Earth-built defenses. You see us as fragile because our bones break and our skin tears. You're not wrong. We are physically fragile compared to most of you. But fragility isn't weakness, Admiral. It's adaptation. Through the transmission, an alarm began sounding. Chen glanced at a tactical display. Your fleet has just entered the system. 67 ships, including 3 dreadnoughts. That's the largest force you've committed to any single engagement in this war. It is more than sufficient to erase your pathetic installation, Vextar replied, though his voice lacked its earlier confidence. Perhaps, Chen acknowledged, but here's what your intelligence reports didn't tell you about Firebase Omega. This isn't just a military installation, it's a testing ground. For the past 2 months, we've been reverse engineering every piece of coalition technology we could acquire. The image shifted to show the base's exterior through a security camera. What had once been a standard military compound now resembled something from the coalition's own shipyards. Spire-like defensive towers pulsed with familiar energy signatures, while the base's central structure had been transformed into a miniature fortress, bristling with hybrid technology. Impossible, whispered Delegate Mirren. The technological gap between our species is too vast. That's your first mistake, Chen replied. You assume that a gap in knowledge means a gap in intelligence. Humans may not have developed faster than light, travel independently, but once we understood the principles behind your drives, we improved them. A new voice joined the transmission, female, speaking with a crisp scientific accent. Coalition ships achieve an average efficiency of 73% in their FTL calculations. Our modified drives achieve 89% efficiency while using 40% less energy. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, Chen explained as a woman in a lab coat stepped into view. Our head of xenotechnology research. She has some interesting observations about coalition. Defensive systems. Dr. Mitchell activated a handheld device and technical schematics filled part of the transmission. Coalition shield technology operates on a fascinating principle of deflecting kinetic energy through dimensional shifting. However, the system has a critical flaw. It's designed to deflect external forces, but it creates a feedback loop when the energy originates from within the shield matrix itself. Admiral Vextar's form began to pulse rapidly. You cannot possibly have weaponized your own defensive technology, Chen finished. Dr. Mitchell's team completed that project last week. Would you like a demonstration? The transmission shifted to an external view just as the coalition fleet emerged from hyperspace. 67 ships arranged themselves in a perfect assault formation, their massive forms blotting out stars as they approached the seemingly insignificant planet below. Fire, Chen commanded quietly. From Firebase Omega's towers erupted beams of energy that seemed almost gentle compared to the massive firepower arrayed against them. But as the beams struck the leading dreadnought's shields, something unprecedented happened. The shield matrix collapsed inward, creating a cascade failure that spread to the neighboring ships. Within seconds, 17 coalition vessels found their own defensive systems turned against them. The chamber watched in stunned silence as the coalition's most powerful battle group was reduced to drifting hulks by a single installation that should have been obliterated within minutes of engagement. You see, Chen continued conversationally, humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We've learned that survival isn't about being the strongest or having the best armor. It's about being clever, adaptable, and willing to turn your enemy's advantages into weaknesses. Korvash found his voice first. This This is a trick. Some form of deception. If you'd like, we can repeat the demonstration with your remaining ships. Dr. Mitchell offered helpfully. Though I should mention that we've also developed countermeasures. For Saurian plasma cannons and Zephyrian phase weapons, it would be more efficient to test all three systems simultaneously. The chamber fell silent again. Finally, Admiral Vextar spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. What do you want? That's simple, Chen replied. An end to this war on terms that acknowledge what you've learned today. Humanity isn't the weak species you thought we were. We're the species that takes whatever we're given,